Hello everyone, welcome back to the English Echo. We're very happy you're here today. Today we're going to practice English together in a simple and relaxing way. I'm Sam.
And I'm Sophia.
We're happy you're here today.
Let's learn together.
So, imagine you're at a nice dinner party. Someone hands you a drink, smiles, and asks a very common question. They ask Otola, so what do you do? And suddenly, your mind goes completely blank.
Oh, yeah. That is a very stressful moment for many English learners. I mean, you spend 40 hours every single week doing your job. You know exactly what you do. But, well, explaining it in a second language feels impossible sometimes.
Right. It feels impossible because we often try to, translate directly from our native language. And when we do that, the words can sound too basic, or they just sound incredibly confusing to the other person.
Exactly. And that confusion stops the conversation. We want to connect with people, right? We want to sound capable and professional, but instead we end up feeling frustrated because we just cannot find the right words.
I remember this feeling very well. Like, I had a job back in college that was really difficult to explain. I worked in a loud factory, and we used these big machines to make tiny, complex plastic pieces for car windows.
Oh, wow. That is a very specific job. Most people do not know anything about car manufacturing. So if you explain all the tiny details about the plastic pieces, people will lose interest very quickly.
They definitely lost interest. I would try to explain the machines and the car windows, and people would just, stare at me. Eventually, I just started saying, I work with plastic. But then people looked at me like I was a little crazy.
Well, yeah. Saying I work with plastic creates a very strange picture in the listener's mind. They might imagine you, playing with plastic toys. It does not communicate the technical nature of your job at all.
Exactly. And this is why giving a simple job title is not always the best strategy. I mean, beginners usually learn simple titles first. They learn words like doctor, teacher, or nurse.
Right. And those words are wonderful. If you actually have one of those jobs, you can simply say, I am a nurse. And everyone in the world understands the daily life of a nurse, so the conversation can move forward naturally.
But real jobs today are often much more complicated. Companies love to create these long, confusing titles. Like, someone might have the title of Senior Level 2 Client Happiness Coordinator.
Oh, goodness, yeah. A title like that does not help the listener at all. They hear those words and they still do not know what you do. They will probably just nod their heads, smile awkwardly, and change the subject.
Yeah, I have a friend who is a software developer. He works specifically with very technical coding languages like React Native and TypeScript.
Yeah.
And if he says those words at a party, it is like he's speaking a secret language.
And no one wants to feel confused at a party. When we use highly technical words, we kind of build a wall between ourselves and the listener. It is much better to keep the explanation wide and open.
Right. So instead of giving a specific title, my friend just says, I work in tech. This small change makes a huge difference. He stops using the phrase I am a and uses the phrase I work in.
That is great. I work in tech is a perfect umbrella term. An umbrella term covers a wide area, It gives the listener the big picture immediately. They understand the general world you work in, even without the technical details.
It gives people context. You could say, I work in marketing, or I work in finance. You could also say, I work in healthcare. It is a very safe and professional way to start the conversation.
Yes, and it also gives the other person a chance to ask a follow-up question if they're interested. They might say, oh, you work in finance. What kind of finance? It invites them into a conversation instead of confusing them.
That makes a lot of sense. There is another situation that learners struggle with, though. Sometimes a person does not work for a big company. They might own a small shop, or maybe they sell products online.
Well, owning a business is a huge accomplishment. You want your English to reflect how proud you are. So instead of explaining the small details of the shop, you can just say, I run my own business.
The verb run is very powerful there. We usually think about running with our legs, but when you run a business, it means you control it. You lead it. It sounds very confident.
Exactly. You can also add the general industry to that phrase. For example, I run a media production company, or I run a small catering business. It sounds established and professional.
So once we give people the big picture, the conversation usually goes a step deeper. They know the general industry. Now they want to know the details. They will ask, so what exactly do you do there?
Right, and this is the moment where many people freeze. They suddenly try to list every single action they take during the day, and they use very basic verbs to describe their routine.
Yeah, I have heard learners say things like, I arrive at 9, I open the computer, I read the emails, I answer the telephone. It describes the day, but it feels a bit strange to listen to.
It does sound a little bit like a children's book. It focuses entirely on the physical objects, like the computer and the telephone. It does not focus on the actual value the person brings to the company.
We definitely need to upgrade those verbs. We need words that show responsibility and professional skill, because we do not want to sound like we're just pushing buttons on a machine all day.
A great way to upgrade your sentence is to use the phrase, I am responsible for. This phrase completely changes how people see you. It shows that the company trusts you with something important.
Oh, that feels much heavier than just listing tasks. You could say, I am responsible for customer service, or I am responsible for training the new employees. It shows real ownership of the work.
Yes. And another fantastic verb that changes the feeling of a sentence is the word handle. Native speakers use this word constantly in the workplace.
Handle is an interesting word. Usually a handle is the part of a door you grab with your hand, but in a professional setting, it means something very different, right?
Right. In a job, handle means you take care of a problem or you manage a complex task. It implies that the task might be difficult or chaotic, but you have the skill to control it safely.
I really like the psychology behind that word. Like if I say, I do the social media, it sounds like a chore. If I say, I handle all the social media accounts, it sounds like I am protecting the company's public image.
Exactly. It gives you authority. You might also say, I handle the payroll for our team. It tells the listener that you are organized and highly capable of managing important details.
What about people who are in charge of other workers? They need strong verbs too. Saying, I am the boss of the sales team sounds a little bit, well, informal.
For leaders, the verbs manage and lead are perfect. You could say, I manage a team of 5 people. Or you could say, I lead the regional sales department. They are clean, direct, and highly professional words.
Many learners do not manage a team, though. They work under a manager, or they work directly with clients. I noticed that beginners rely heavily on the word help in these situations.
Well, the word help is certainly useful. A person might say, I help the boss, or I help the clients find products. There's nothing grammatically wrong with those sentences at all.
But if you use it every single time, it can make you sound like an assistant, even if you are not. I mean, you can make your role sound a little bit smaller than it actually is.
That is true. A beautiful way to upgrade the word help is to use the phrase, I work closely with. This phrase highlights teamwork and collaboration. It makes you sound like an equal partner in the process.
That completely changes the picture. Instead of saying, I help the designers, you say, I work closely with the design team. You sound like an expert collaborating with other experts.
Yes, even a nurse could use this phrase. Instead of I help sick people, which sounds very basic, they could say, I work closely with patients to support their recovery. It sounds incredibly compassionate and professional.
So the specific tasks we do naturally dictate where we have to do them. And a few years ago, almost everyone just said, I work in an office. But the modern workplace has completely changed.
It really has. We cannot fully describe our jobs today without talking about the location. The vocabulary for our workplaces has expanded a lot recently.
Yeah, many people never step foot inside a traditional office anymore. They do all their tasks from a desk in their bedroom or living room.
To describe this naturally, we use the word remotely. You can say, I work remotely. Remote means far away from the main center. It is the most professional way to say you do not go to the office.
I work remotely is an excellent phrase. It sounds slightly more advanced than saying I work from home, though working from home is still a very common and acceptable thing to say.
Yes, both are great. But sometimes people have a schedule that mixes both environments. They might go to the office on Monday and Tuesday, but stay home on Wednesday and Thursday.
This is becoming very common. We call this a hybrid schedule. You can tell people, I have a hybrid schedule right now.
Right. The word hybrid is everywhere in business today. It simply means a combination of 2 different systems.
It is exactly like a hybrid car. A hybrid car uses both gasoline and electricity to run efficiently. A hybrid schedule uses 2 different locations, the home and the office, to help the worker be efficient.
That is a really helpful way to think about it, Sam. But we also have to remember that millions of people do not use a computer for their jobs. They build things or they work directly with the public.
True. Construction workers, for example, cannot build a house remotely. They have to go to the actual physical location where the work is happening.
For those jobs, we say, I work on site. The site is the specific piece of land where the construction or the project is happening. It shows you are out in the field doing physical work.
And for people in hospitals, factories, or large retail stores, they are often walking around a large building all day. They are not sitting at a desk.
Right. They use the phrase, I work on the floor. The floor refers to the main open area where the action happens. A nurse works on the hospital floor, and a salesperson works on the retail floor.
These jobs also have different hours. When you work in an office, you usually work from morning until evening. But hospitals and factories operate 24 hours a day.
To keep things running all day and night, the schedule is divided into blocks of time. We call these blocks shifts. You can tell someone, I work shifts.
Working shifts means your schedule might change. Sometimes you work the morning shift. Sometimes you work the evening shift. It tells the listener that your daily routine is not always exactly the same.
Exactly. And if you work while everyone else is sleeping, you can say, I am on the night shift. Adding these details about your location and your schedule really brings your job to life for the listener.
There's one more word related to our work location that is incredibly important. It is the journey we take to get from our front door to our workplace.
Ah, yes. That journey is called your commute. The commute might be 10 minutes or it might be 2 hours. It involves driving, taking a train, or riding a bus.
The word commute is absolute gold for making small talk. People love to discuss their journey to work. You can simply say, my commute took an hour today because the traffic was awful.
It is a shared human experience. Almost everyone understands the frustration of a long commute. Mentioning your commute is a great way to bond with a new colleague before a meeting starts.
That brings up a great point about communication. A huge part of any job is talking to the other people in the company. And much of that communication happens inside meetings.
Meetings take up a large part of the modern workday, but learners often struggle to describe this part of their job without sounding passive or bored.
Many people just translate their physical action. They will say, I sit in a room for 2 hours. Or they will say, I sit in many meetings.
Saying you sit in a room makes it sound like you were just taking up space. It does not sound like you are contributing anything. We want to use words that show active participation.
So the best verb for this is attend. You can say, I attend a lot of meetings. Attending a meeting means you are present and you are actually paying attention to the work.
And if you are the person who organized the meeting, you can use the word we learned earlier. You can say, I lead the meeting. It shows you are guiding the conversation.
Meetings also have different energies, like sometimes a meeting is very quiet. Everyone just takes turns saying what they finished yesterday and what they will do today.
We call that a status update. It is important for keeping the team organized, but it's not usually very exciting. It is just sharing basic facts.
Other meetings are completely different. Sometimes a group gets together to solve a difficult problem. Everyone shares wild, new ideas, and the energy in the room is very high.
The perfect word for that is brainstorming. It is a very visual word. You can imagine a storm of ideas flying around the room. You can say, we brainstormed some new marketing strategies.
When we are in these meetings, we are surrounded by the people we work with. Choosing the right word for these people can be a little confusing for learners, though.
Yes, many beginners simply say, my friends from work. That is perfectly fine if you are actually close friends with them, but there are more specific professional words we can use.
I hear the word coworkers used very often. I also hear the word colleagues. Both words mean the people you work with. Is there a rule for when to choose one over the other?
Well, both words are excellent and they mean the same thing. The difference is just a slight change in formality. Colleagues feels a bit more formal and professional.
I have noticed that. Like if I am talking to my family about a funny story at work, I will say my coworkers. But if I'm writing a formal email to a client, I will write my colleagues.
That is exactly how native speakers use them. If you work in a corporate office or a bank, colleagues is very common. If you work in a restaurant, coworkers might feel more natural.
No matter what we call them, we want to have a good relationship with them. How do we explain that we like the people we work with every day?
There is a wonderful phrasal verb for this. You can say, I get along great with my team. To get along means your relationship is smooth, friendly, and easy.
I get along great with my colleagues. That is a very positive statement. It shows that you are a team player and that your work environment is healthy.
We have covered so much ground today. We discussed naming your industry, choosing powerful verbs for your tasks, and describing your modern schedule.
We've given our listeners a lot of strong vocabulary, but to truly sound natural, we need to address a few small errors. Sometimes a tiny mistake can make an advanced speaker sound like a beginner.
Yes, these small errors usually happen because of direct translation. The logic works in a native language, but it sounds slightly off in English. Let's polish a few of these common sentences.
The most common one I hear is a mix-up between two basic words. A learner will confidently say, I have a work. It is a small mistake, but it immediately sounds unnatural.
It sounds unnatural because of how English treats those two concepts. Work is generally an uncountable action. It is the effort you put into something. But a job is the specific countable position you hold.
So we cannot say a work. To fix this, we simply swap the word. A native speaker will say, I have a job. It is a small change, but it makes the sentence perfectly clean.
Another funny mistake happens when describing a busy schedule. A student might say, I stay in meetings all day.
Using the word stay creates a very funny picture in my head. When you tell someone to stay, it implies they cannot leave. It sounds like you are a prisoner trapped inside the conference room.
Exactly. You do not want to sound like you're trapped. Instead of stay, you can simply use the verb to be. You can say, I am in meetings all day.
I am in meetings. It is much better. Or we could use the active verb we learned earlier and say, I attend meetings all day. Both of those erase the feeling of being a prisoner.
Here is another common translation issue. People who work with computers or software often struggle with the verb for creating programs. They might say, I make the code.
Yeah, the verb make is very generic. We use make for physical objects. We make a cake or you make a wooden table. Using it for software sounds a bit unprofessional.
It does not show the skill required for the job. Instead of make, we should use the specific verb that pairs with code. We say, I write code.
I write code. It changes the feeling entirely. Writing requires intelligence, planning, and language skills. It makes the job sound much more intellectual and accurate.
There is one final phrase we should polish. Every job has difficult moments. When a learner wants to explain this, they usually say, my work is very hard.
There is absolutely nothing wrong with the word hard. Everyone will understand exactly what you mean. But it does sound a little bit like you are complaining.
It can make you sound a bit like a victim of your job. We want to upgrade that feeling. We want you to sound like a respected professional who does important things.
So instead of saying the job is hard, we can use a more advanced word. We can say, my job is pretty demanding.
Demanding is a beautiful word. If a job is demanding, it means it requires a high level of your energy, your focus, and your specialized skills.
It shifts the focus. Hard means you are struggling. Demanding means the work is important and you are the capable person handling it. It is a massive upgrade in confidence.
All of these small changes work together to polish your English. Swapping make for right, or hard for demanding, shows that you truly understand the nuance of the language.
It gives you the power to control how people see you. When you have the right words, that panic at the dinner party disappears. You can answer the question, what do you do? With a big smile.
You can confidently say, I work in tech, or I handle the marketing for a small business. You paint a clear, professional picture for the listener.
Before we finish our conversation today, I want to leave you with a small challenge. Think about your current job, or even better, think about your absolute dream job.
Visualizing a dream job is a fantastic way to practice new vocabulary without feeling stressed about your real daily routine.
Imagine you have that perfect job. If you had to describe it to a stranger using the powerful words we explored today like handle, manage, or work closely with Afi, how would you build those sentences?
Take a few quiet moments today to build those sentences in your mind. It is a great way to make these new words feel natural and familiar.
Thank you for listening to The English Echo.
Keep practicing English every day.
Small steps can make a big difference.
See you in the next episode.